Things have been tough since Mom passed. Dad's a complete shell of himself, and I've been left on my own to sort through the abundance of emotions I've been going through. It was actually a relief when Dad told me he was going to head to the cabin for a week. "Can you watch the place for me, Jared?" he asked. Yeah, I had to watch the house, but that was no big deal. It's a 2-story with an AC, stocked fridge, big screen, and a hot tub. It's not like it's a struggle, although the place does still have the landline for some reason. Before he left, Dad told me reception would be spotty at the cabin, per usual. If I really needed anything, I should call between 9 and 11 when he'd be out at the local bar. I told him not to worry about it, and I highly doubted I'd need him. If I couldn't reach him, I'd call Terry next door if I needed anything. Well, it didn't take long before I needed him. I was soaking in the hot tub when the lights on the back porch turned on. The lights back there are motion sensor. Silly me, I forgot to set the security system. What was the code again? As things stood, the alarm wouldn't go off if someone broke in. Thankfully, that animal or whatever it was had triggered the motion sensor, and it reminded me to do it. I'll call Dad and ask him the code. It was getting close to 11, so if I wanted to catch Dad, I needed to call him quick. My finger scrolled through until I found his name in the contacts. I hit call and it began to ring. Suddenly the landline did as well. The landline read Jared's cell. I looked back at my cell. I've dialed Dad home, not Dad's cell. Jeez, silly me. I moved my finger to the red phone icon, but before I could pick it up, the landline stopped ringing. I hadn't hung up yet. Had it gone to voicemail? Confused, I raised my cell to my ear. No voicemail, only silence. Actually, I think I heard something. Is that static or was that breathing? What the hell? My heart was pounding. I immediately hung up the phone. What the heck was going on here? Taking a deep breath, my heart rate began to slow. There was no way I heard breathing. That would be ridiculous. Had to be a phone malfunction or something. I exhaled deeply and then began to laugh. What a way to start off a week alone, right? My cell began to ring. The ring caused my body to flinch. Clearly I was still a little jittery. Who would be calling me at this hour? Looking at the phone, the call was from Dad home. My eyes widened. The phone continued to ring in my hand. In a panic, I hit decline. The backyard was illuminated by light once again. This was all happening so fast. Before I could react to the lights, my phone started ringing. Dad home was calling. Tears began to well in my eyes, and I hit answer. Hello? I asked. There was no verbal response, but there was something. A slow inhale, followed by a slow exhale. My chest tightened. Hello? Hello? I repeated to myself. More breathing in return. Keeping the phone to my ear, I began moving towards the kitchen. Once there, I grabbed a large kitchen knife. I ducked behind the island, and the breathing on the other end ceased. I peeked my head out to survey my surroundings. The open and spacious nature of Dad's home came in handy here. The kitchen was about 15 by 15, with the island directly in the center and at the edge of the house. Peeking around the corner allowed me to see the entirety of the living room. It was a large, wide space directly in front of me. I leaned to the other side of the island to peek in the other direction. There were doors to the theater room, bathroom, and office. Down a little further was a little opening to the left. If you went in there, you'd see the front door and both flights of stairs. The office had 2 ways to get in, one directly visible from the kitchen, and one around the corner in that opening. There were 4 landlines in the house, one in the kitchen, one in the office, one upstairs, and one in the basement. Ruling out the kitchen meant that this person was in one of 3 places. I sat behind the island, my body wouldn't stop shaking. I set down the phone and held the knife in both hands. If someone were here and coming for me, I was going to need more than a knife. I knew Dad kept a gun in the office safe, and I peeked around the corner again. The theater room, the bathroom, and the office door were all slightly creaked open. If I was going to protect myself, I needed to risk it. I inhaled deeply. As soon as I began to exhale, I shot to my feet and tiptoed for the office. Each step creaked slightly, and it was the only sound I could discern. Reaching the door, I wanted to pause for fear of what may be inside. I pointed the knife into the crease with my clammy hands and gently opened the door. The only light in the room came from the opening. Gently, I closed the door behind me and left it cracked slightly open as it was before. Crawling under Dad's desk, I reached for his safe. It wasn't there. Why wasn't it there? Where could it be? Ah, crap. Before he left, Dad had told me he'd moved his safe to the basement. The walkout basement, with a door I'm almost certain I forgot to lock. Also where another one of the landlines was. Then I heard movement. Someone was here. I sat on the knife so the light wouldn't reflect and curled into a ball. Outside the office, I could hear a fair amount of footsteps. Then the sound of a door swinging open. That was the theater room. Moments later, I heard a thud. Another door was flung open, this one closer. The bathroom. That was followed by another thud. That meant the office was next. Do I keep hiding, or do I make a run for it? I decided to run. As the sound neared the door and grew in intensity, I shot through the open door and exited the office, ducking around the corner. The other door to the office opened, then there was silence. I held my breath, waiting for something, anything to happen. Seconds passed. Everything was still. Please, 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 slam the door so I can run. Still no sound. I could feel the little beads of sweat run down my forehead. Finally, I heard the other door slam shut, and I used the noise to disguise me running upstairs. Knowing where the intruder was had lessened my apprehension of going downstairs. I maintained quiet feet, but quickly maneuvered down the steps. As I reached the bottom, I saw that the walkout door was wide open. I didn't have time to worry about any of that. Darting towards the back, I found the safe and punched in the code. Wrong code, the safe beeped. I heard movement upstairs. You have to be kidding me. What was the code? I punched it in again. Wrong code. I could hear some sound upstairs. Whoever was up there was being much louder than they had been before. Frantically, I put the code in one more time. If it didn't work, I'd have to make a run for it. The safe door swung open. I grabbed the gun and hid. While hiding, I turned the safety off, then checked to see if it was loaded. Thankfully, it was. The creaking of floorboards could be heard overhead. Each sound grew nearer and nearer to the top of the stairs. I closed my eyes and tried to focus, steadying the gun. I aimed where the intruder would be and put the line of sight on the stairs. The sounds grew increasingly louder. A figure appeared at the top of the stairs. Even in the dark, I could make out his all-black outfit and ski mask. One arm was raised, and it looked like he was casually massaging his neck. The figure hobbled awkwardly, each step looking more off balance than the last. I waited until they reached the easiest spot for me to aim, and I fired the gun. A brief moment passed, and then the body came tumbling down the remaining stairs. Flicking on the lights, I kept my distance, gun pointed at the intruder. Red stains soaked the area beneath the man's body. Kicking at him a few times, there was no reaction from the limp form. Curiosity got the better of me, and I decided to flip him over. He was bleeding immensely from the neck. Removing the ski mask, I immediately became confused. The person was a complete stranger to me. Why would they break into my house? What was the purpose of doing this? What was the wound on his neck from? I'd fired the gun at the man, yet the wound wasn't a bullet hole. It looked like a slash. Looking over to the stairs, there was a hole in the wall. Had I missed? Then how did... It was then that the landline began to ring. It said, Jared's cell. Good evening, everyone. It's me, Dr. Plague. Thank you so much for joining me for tonight's story. Well, it was a little short, but this was definitely a great read. I would highly suggest you go check out the user explicitviolence's other content. He writes a lot, and he's got some great stories. I'm sure it won't be the last time that we read him on this channel. I've put some links down below if you'd like to check out the rest of his stuff, but before we go, let's go ahead and thank our patrons. Thanks to the Irish Devil for being our Spooky Ghost contributor. Thanks to Janet for being our Spooky Skeleton tier contributor. Thanks to Xaronana, Emily Coltsfoot, and Leslie Lou Riddle for being our Ghostly Reader tier contributors. And thanks to Glen Jenkins for being our Ghostwriter tier contributor. Thanks, everyone. We just couldn't do the show without you. If you too would like to support the show, come on down to Patreon. For just $5 a month, you can have your name read out at the end of every TikTok and every YouTube video I do. And you can get your spooky on a Tuesday and a Thursday, as opposed to a Wednesday and a Friday. If you're interested in my books, there's a link below to my latest one, Sleepless Nights, and I always recommend that if you'd like a copy of the book, come on down to Patreon and become one of my Ghostly Reader tier contributors. For just $10 a month, you get a copy of my book signed and on your doorstep anytime that I write one. And as always, thanks for stopping by. If you enjoyed the show, why not click that subscribe button, maybe hit that notification bell, and leave me a comment. The algorithm, and me of course, always like it when you comment. Till next time, Dr. Plague, signing off. Have a wonderful evening.